Okay, I'm live. Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome to this very special session, kind of spontaneous that I felt very called this week to jump on and just to unpick this kind of incredible area. So, welcome to the spirituality in current times clarity session where. Yes, we are going to dive into some of the big topics. I'm feeling like I want to share a lot on this. I've been wanting to talk to you about this for some time. So welcome if you're here live, and also welcome if you're on the replay. And if you're on the replay, feel free to comment because I'm going to check back in with comments if we want to continue the conversation. And also drop me a comment here if you are live with me. So I'll just do a quick kind of run through of what this session is, why I'm doing it. I'll give you a very sort of 20 seconds of who I am, and then we're just going to dive into these topics because these are big topics, big, expansive, triggering, maybe. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Wisteria. Oh, I'm so glad you're joining. Big topics. And I've made a few notes here. So if I'm looking down, that's why, because I really want to stay on topic because I can go off and we can have expansive conversations, but I really want to kind of cover very specifics with you. So the first thing I want to share is basically whatever I'm going to be sharing in this session, I'm going to be very direct. I'm going to share my beliefs, my knowings, things that I channel through. So I just want to start by saying this is not to convince you or persuade you. Hold whatever you want from what I'm about to share. Drop what doesn't resonate with you. But I invite you, if you are here on the live or on the replay, to really stay open. And what you can do, especially when we're exploring topics like this, like religion, spirituality, God, energies, modalities, there is so much confusion and hijacking and distortions and manipulations are going on, which we're going to unpack in this session. So I want to just start by, before we even get into it, note down, if you're here with me, if you can stay through the whole thing, even if you're watching the replay, note down anything as I'm saying it that triggers you or impacts you. So perhaps then you can explore it later and you can sit with it yourself, because this isn't about convincing you. This is about really getting you to tap into a real sense of what is true for you and what resonates with you right now. And I say that because there are a lot of teachings and informations that, and I channel this, that there is deliberate confusion, and I'll share a little bit about what I've uncovered on that and my own personal experiences. So be open. And I expect you're all pretty much like that who tune into me anyway, but just in case you've never come across me, because it isn't about me preaching and telling you anything about what you should or shouldn't believe, but there are things that I'm sharing that they're my beliefs, and then there are things I'm sharing that are my soul knowings, and I won't move on those because I know what I know, right? It's the same as you. Okay, so glad that's said. So this session then is a no holds barred, no holding back live session to really straighten out many of the false claims and beliefs, to clean up some of the energetics around this. And maybe some of you, drop me a comment here as well if this is you. Maybe you've been on some of this spiritual journey, spiritual path, and the more you go deeper into it, you can sometimes hit a bit of a wall with some of this, or you can feel very confused about, are you on the right track? You ever had that where you question yourself, am I on the right side? Of course, it's not quite like that, but sometimes we can feel like, are we on the right side here? Are we following the right energies? Are we, because there are a lot of convincing voices out there. Yeah, and you feel, absolutely, yeah. So, and I know many, and I know that I daily, okay, yeah. So, and I know that when I've been going through this the last couple of years, I know what's personal is universal. So I know that there will be more of you watching the replay as well, that are sometimes you're starting to question your spirituality, the power of it, whether you are making this stuff up, is it even real, and all of this stuff, right? And then you see maybe somebody on the internet and they're very compelling and they're going against all the things that you believe, so it starts to shake your belief system up. You might then have a dream or some weird experience that scares you, or takes you off your path. And with light workers, I'm going to use these terms openly, and generally, light workers, way showers, star seeds, old souls, whoever we want to call ourselves, we're going to have this at certain points because we are often targeted by energies and forces to take us off our path, because we're incredibly powerful when we are on our spiritual path. So this is what the purpose is to open up this whole conversation. Oh, thank you, Wisteria. Yeah, trying to share this out. Yeah, feel free to share this as well if you're watching the replay, or share it, or tag anyone that you feel needs to hear some of this, right? Yeah, so you're saying especially when the evidence confirmation isn't super visible. Yeah, and we're really, a lot of what we're doing with spirituality and our connection to it is we have to rely on our own inner knowing, and that can be shaken very much. So the reason that I decided to do this class, because I've been thinking about these topics for a long time, is because I did a post recently, and I've been starting to talk more about channeling. And of course, I've recently launched my high level channel, International Training Academy. And I'm going to be promoting that a lot more over the next week. But I started to talk about channeling, and I had a very interesting comment. And some of you would have seen it on my page. And it was somebody that doesn't know me, but said something about very typical statement in the spiritual communities or religious communities, that channeling is demonic and it's not pleasing to God. And basically I should find God and Jesus in my life, and other things that were said previously, because this person had commented previously. And thank you, Lisa. And the reason that I kind of loved it is because I realized that I wasn't triggered by it. And this person actually, and it's happened before with somebody else, when I had comments like that, like attacking comments around channeling and things of that nature, when it first happened, I really took a back seat. It made me want to shrink and not say much more and hide myself. And I felt like I needed to question myself. And this happened even a few months ago. I had a deep sort of period where I really questioned, am I doing this right? Maybe I'm coming so far away from God. Maybe I'm not doing it. Maybe I'm not connected to the light energies. And I did question it, and I did go very deep into myself and into all of that. So it really shook me up. So the reason I'm sharing this now is because when this recent comment was said, I let it roll off me. And actually what it did was activate me in a very deep way. Hello, Jan. It activated me in a very deep way, and I felt like more compelled to come on here and start talking about these topics. I felt more empowered. Something like the light switched on in another way. So I was very thankful to this person. So this is why I'm here. And I had these notes. Funny enough, I had these notes in my phone that I'm going to talk to you about now, in my phone for probably at least a couple of months, and I sat on them because I wasn't ready to talk about it. So now this is what we're doing. And when I tapped into it, I thought today is the day, because I haven't live streamed in, actually, can you believe it, since July, other than in my private group. So you might have noticed that, you might not have noticed that, but I do a lot of reels and I share previous content, but I haven't been live. So I'm really excited to be here to unpick all of this. Yeah, so I think the fact that you question it is evidence that you are attached to source, not ego. Yes, thank you. And that's a really valid point. And I did come to that conclusion, actually. And I was having long discussions with Michael about it. And he was great because he was, really holding that for me. And I was exploring this. But it was like, if we don't sometimes question ourselves with our spirituality, like, what are we connected to? What energies are we really allowing in? It is evidence that we are not attached to the ego, because the ego doesn't like to question, and the ego wants to be right, and the ego wants to, there's arrogance there sometimes. But sometimes our soul knowing can appear to others as that, but we know that it's coming from a very different place. So that's what was behind all of this. So it's not to convince you or anything, it's just to share some perspectives. And I'm going to just talk about the confusions. I want to talk to you about the new age hijacking of consciousness that's happening, lots of manipulations. I want to talk about the difference between certain tools, modalities, and energies and intentions behind them. I want to go into religion, spirituality, and control. I want to talk about God. Let's talk about God, Christ consciousness, understand what this stuff means, attacks from people who don't like your beliefs, past lives, persecution, coming out of the spiritual closet, and whatever else wants to come out through this live stream. So I have notes, and I'm going to try and stick to those aspects. Okay, so welcome to this live stream session, and also whenever you're watching this. So just in case, most of you, everyone here that's tuned in, you already know me, but just in case you're watching this later and you've just come across me, my name is Marie Fleming Grant, and I am founder of the Awake Revolution, and I am a channel, I'm an activator, a guide, an advisor. I change these words frequently, but basically I'm here to help you drop the baggage, wake up the real you, and revolutionize how you think, feel, live, and create to be all of who you came here to be. And I typically work with leaders, impact makers, conscious souls, those of you who are really here, you know that you're here on a mission. And also your mission may involve impacting the world, or it might be to do with more of your own personal development, and it all counts, it all assists the entire collective consciousness shift that we're going through. So that's what I do. And I talk a lot about creating the internal work, the inner transformations, the actions, the aligned actions. I do quite a lot of pieces. So today we're focusing on, the spirituality in current times. And if you have any questions as I'm going, feel free to drop them in, and I will either answer as we go, or I'll come back to them at the end. Sometimes if I'm on a roll, I might not see, but feel free to comment anything that you want to ask. Okay, so I'll take a breath. 11 minutes in. Okay. Okay. So I want to talk first about the deliberate confusions and the new age hijacking. So the way that I see it, and the way that my guides have been showing me more and more over the last couple of years, is that at the moment, as you know, the world is shifting and the frequency on the planet is shifting. So you may have felt this already, and it's kind of obvious to many of us where we are, but if you kind of see, there are two paths unfolding right now on the planet. So we've got this kind of, the way that they describe it to me is more the artificial, fake, fear-based, follow authorities, very, very fearful living. And then we've got the organic, natural, connected to divinity, connected to source, connected to humanity in general. And it's about freedom, expansion, love, all the good things. So we've got these two paths. And what's happening on the path that we're sort of conscious people who are on the spiritual path, we're already doing that, because many of us have been doing it for a long time. Within that world, there are, let's say, the spiritual communities. And I'm using these terms loosely because, of course, we're all spiritual, but I'm talking about the very conscious, obvious spiritual communities. In that community, there is a lot of hijacking, confusion, deception. There are, as many of you already know, there are a lot of false, light leaders. You discovered that, maybe around 2020. It was very interesting to see the messages, and maybe surprising, to some of us, with certain people that we might have looked up to. So within the spiritual communities, we've got a lot of confusions, and this is where I was a while back, because I was trying to make sense of which part of the spiritual community is I don't want to say true, because true is whatever you believe it to be. Which part of the spiritual community is like a higher perspective, which is perspectives that are connected into something expansive for humanity. And what we've often found when we tune into some of the spiritual leaders, the big names, is that a lot of what they say is based on universal laws, but it's peppered in with a lot of bullshit as well. So I'll give you a very good example of taking the law of attraction, which is a universal law, one of many, and part of the new age, I don't even like that word, right? New age, because there's nothing new about ancient wisdom, but part of that new age community has taken something like law of attraction and basically put a very ego fueled energy to it, which says something like, if you can imagine it and you can create it, whatever you want in your wildest dreams, you can have. And it's partly true and partly not true, because yes, we are creator beings and we are very, very powerful, more than we have tapped into in a human collective. But what that does is it sets up a lot of humans, and you may have even felt this yourself. I definitely have at points. It sets up a lot of humans to feel so disillusioned and so disappointed that when they are focused on the thing that they want to create, it doesn't happen. So, you can just say yes or no, or yes if you've experienced that. And then what it does is when it doesn't happen and you put everything that you've got into it, you focus on the what you want, you continuously do it, and it doesn't come to pass. Yeah, you start to bash your head and go, I'm gonna just to hell with all of it, right? You kind of throw everything out. A lot of people do this, and then they disconnect. And how convenient is that, right? So you've got this whole bunch of humans on the planet coming more away from their spiritual connection because of these teachings that are very, very clever, because they're peppered with accuracies, but they're leading people up the garden path. Now, if you've tuned into any of my messages, I'm very much somebody who will say you can create your reality. You can absolutely create your reality, but the aspect behind that is when it is soul aligned, right? So let's say I see a movie that stoked my ego, and then somebody said a comment to me that stoked my ego, and then I decided I wanted to be, I don't know, a famous model, right? I'm just going to use that as an example, right? Famous model. Um, depending on the market, right? If I threw everything into my being to like focus on it, focus on it, focus on it, well, it's unlikely to happen for me because that is not my soul path. Like I already know that. It's not something I want, but that's not my soul path. So I could be throwing everything at it, working hard, doing all the things that the experts tell me to do, but that's nothing to do with my soul path. So my soul isn't going to want to create that, especially when my soul is a soul that's come here with very, very powerful intentions. Same for your soul. And I know if you're watching this, you have a very powerful connection to your soul, because you just wouldn't be here listening to me talk about these subjects. A lot of people will see this live stream and just tune out because it's just nothing to do with where they're at. So that's the kind of a good example. There are many, but it's a good example of how we're getting very manipulated and tricked by this ego fueled version of spirituality, right? And it's not about putting your 3 swimming pools and 6 cars on your vision board. There's nothing wrong with material. Absolutely, we can have material, absolutely, as part of the spiritual existence. But there are people who are putting vision board stuff up on their wall, and they're so far off their soul. They do not have their light switched on, and they are so far off their path. And that's okay. That's okay, because they'll find their way, if not in this life, in another lifetime. But for those of you who are really committed, we've got to be really discerning with which energies we are tuning into and which teachings we're tapped into, which is why I want to talk about it. So there's a hijacking of consciousness, and it's very interesting because some, and I'm not saying all, but some of the new agey kind of spiritual teachings, they will tell you things like, it's very surface based. And a lot of you've probably moved through this and moved beyond this, but it's very surface based. It's like you're spiritual because you have tarot cards, you have crystals. I saw an advert yesterday. Yeah, and somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody online with a massive following and massive loads of people was sharing that the way to connect to the universe was to wear this particular crystal bracelet. And if you do that, the universe will hear you and will listen to you. And I was like getting really annoyed about that when I heard it, because it winds me up, because it's bullshit. And I see good human people following this crap, and I know where it's going to lead them, right? And I know that you've seen the same. I just want to call it out. So there's a new age hijacking. There's so much of it, right? And I think we sometimes get scared to talk about it, because I've been in many spiritual circles where I haven't felt okay to share some of this, like hence the live stream now, and I don't care anymore. I'm very outspoken, but there were times in the past where I would have just not been okay to say it, because then when you bring things up, sometimes in that community, you get told you're being negative. You can't talk about that. You're going to attract it, you know? Like, get lost. Like, I'm looking at things. A light worker will look at the dark as well, right? It's part of being a true light worker, conscious soul. Yes, we want to focus on what we want to create. But if we don't know what we don't like, and we don't see things that we don't like on the planet or in our lives, how on earth do we get to make a difference? So there's a whole other part of the hijacking of spiritual communities where it says, don't look at anything in the world that is dark. Don't look at war. Don't look at poverty. Don't look at starvation. Don't look at homelessness, nothing like that. You must focus on the beautiful new earth that we're creating. Now, I have shared messages about focusing on the new earth that we're creating, but my intention behind that is always because we know what's happening on the planet, we're going to stand here in as much light as we possibly can and create intentionally. But that's because we know what's going on, right? We're not oblivious to the fact that there are some serious things happening, crimes against humanity. You all know, you've been down the rabbit hole, I'm sure majority of you have, and if not, you can continue on that path. But we already know that there are atrocious behaviors on this planet, right? We already know this. So this is about being able to see them and have the human moments, but not go into the toxic positivity of the bullshit spiritual communities. Not all of them, but some of them, that tells you you have to be positive all the time, and the whole time you're repressing your actual feelings and stunting your own spiritual growth, right? So it's very clever, and I just wanted to shine a light on some of that before we get into the other stuff, because I see it over and over and over. And I've literally had clients, when they come to me, let's say if we're doing some emotional release work, they are afraid. This is how cannot tell you how many people say this. They are afraid to even vocalize their emotions or the things that they are not happy with, because they have a fear of not wanting to create them. And this comes from a program of, you must focus on the positive. You must be in a high vibration, and you must be in a high frequency. And again, all of these programs are very, very what are they? They're very, yeah, they're unhelpful, and they're distortions. They're distortions. So I want you to know, first of all, really, really important, is to know that when you have those human moments, which we all have, no matter how much I channel, I have my human moments. You can be angry, you can be upset, you can be in despair sometimes, you can have any range of human emotions, but that does not mean that you're not in a certain frequency. There's a massive distortion there, that people think that they can only be in a higher frequency and vibration and be like a 5D being. None of us are 5D beings. You can only be high vibration if you don't have any anger anymore, because anger is not good. It's like drinking poison and expecting to, kill someone or something like that. Anger is a human emotion. You're allowed it, and it's very, very empowering when you can tap into that in a very healthy way. We don't want to stay there, but that is a really big one, and that really breaks my heart when I have people that come to me with that, because I see their pain, and what they need is an outlet. All right, so know that there are moments where you're going to feel high vibration. There are going to be moments of your life path that you are going through the dark night of the soul, which is important for your growth. You might be going through just like shitty circumstances or challenges right now. It's how you deal with them that counts, right? It's how you respond, yes, but you can have your human emotions, and don't let anybody tell you that you're not spiritual or that you're not vibing high enough because you get angry about the world, or because you feel things and you weren't your best self today, because every single one of us are working through things, and we're a work in progress, and none of us are so beyond the human that we're floating around like a lot of people say that they are. They don't feel angry and they don't feel anything. They just love and light the whole time that they're here on the earth plane. No, because they would be on another plane. They'd have no reason to be here. They'd be guiding us from another realm, right? So release that. Okay, so that's good. I wanted to get that off my chest for a while. The other thing I want to talk about is, because I saw a few things around. Hold on, let me just get my charger on my phone. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, knocking everything off. I'm pulling all my plugs out. I knew that was going to happen on my phone. I saw some posts around sort of people calling out different tools. So I've seen like a whole spate of posts this year It seemed to just happen, where a lot of people were starting to say, tarot cards, Reiki are demonic. EFT is demonic. Any kind of energy healing, throw it out. You're connecting to dark energies, blah, blah, blah. And that, I really had to sit with that for a while to start to think about, is there some truth in this? What do I need to know? Where am I being led on this? What is feeling running through me in that? And I really had to unpick, and I didn't want to make any assumptions. And I always like to stay as open as I can on bits of this. And I know that there is, and I did a little research on like things like yoga, and Reiki. And what I want to say about that is, what I've learned is it really depends. It's partly correct and partly not. It really depends on the vehicle that is you. So for example, let's say cards. I don't typically use tarot cards. I like oracle cards and angel cards, right? And I do some of those in my group. Let's say the cards that I use, or a deck of cards, it will depend on a couple of things. Yes, Jesus used Reiki or hands-on healing. Yes, I'm going to come to the hands-on healing bit in a minute. Yeah, exactly. Let's say the cards, I don't know the intention behind the person that actually channeled those through or created them or whatever. Hopefully they had a good intention, right? Some of them do, some of them don't. I did have a pack of cards one time that I instinctively felt, as I shifted my own frequency, I suddenly started to feel like, I don't like these cards. I just don't. Just get a weird feeling off them. I chuck them away. That only happened one time. But it's about the intention of how we use things. So if I've got a deck of cards, I'll just show it to you just to make the point, because I've got like a few of them. Let's say I've got a deck of cards. They're a deck of cards, right? Pieces of paper, pieces of card with images on, with some words. There's a booklet. Often I will channel through anyway, but like we're using these as, like, I like to use them because they're images, and I just like to hold something, and I like to show a picture. It's just kind of nice. It's my energy and my intention that I am using when I'm connecting to these cards, right? Even if we find out later that the person who channeled the cards is, connected to whatever they're connected to, it's only the power that you give to them. And I feel really strongly on this, and I really sat with this for a long time. Same with Reiki. There are people who, this will depend on your own, what doors and portals you have open, how clean is your own energy field, which is why that's a really important thing. It's also why it's important where, don't just go to anyone for healings or clearings or energy work, because you want to make sure that their energy is as clear as it can be, so that they are not filtering through their own stuff onto you, right? So, thinking about Reiki, yes, there are some people that say Reiki is, connected to all sorts of entities and energies. And some people say that Reiki is just light and connected to Jesus or God or whatever else you connect with. But again, it's to do with the person. So just to emphasize, let's imagine you have a Reiki person here, and this Reiki person is full of trauma, like many of us have been. They are open in terms of their energy field. They don't know how to protect themselves. They never do any kind of clearing. They don't really work on themselves at all. Maybe they are tuned to the Reiki energy, and what comes through, they are quite deceived and manipulated by certain energies, which I'll come to in a minute. Sure, that's a very different energy you're going to be getting off them versus someone who uses Reiki with light, with a very clear channel, with a very clear system. They're very conscientious with their energy. That's a very different experience. So I'm saying on that, and the guidance on that is to not to get so caught up in the tool or the energy or the modality. Of course, you'll have your own favorite ones. You have things that you just don't feel like you want, right? Like if somebody was gonna, I guess for me, I'm pretty open to things, but if someone was gonna maybe chant at me and do some stuff on me, I don't know, I wouldn't just wouldn't resonate with me, but maybe for someone else it would. So you've got to pick your own things that you're geared towards. And so the guidance is on it is really being discerning about the person that you are drawn to. And this is why to work on ourselves and our discernment is probably the most important thing to help us, because we'll just suddenly just get a sense of, I'm really guided towards this person, or not so much. and really trusting yourself on that, because that is such a huge aspect. And this is why sometimes in this kind of area, coaching, healing, guiding, therapy, whatever, we can get very caught up in um, like the marketing, because there are a lot of good marketers out there who will sell you all the amazing things in the world, but actually when they come to deliver the healings or the clearings or whatever spiritual aspects they're doing, it doesn't actually hit the mark, right? So just having that level of discernment is so important, because there's so much confusion, and if in doubt, that's where you want to really just step back and don't, I'd say avoid rushing into investing in things. Like I've done that, you know, really got caught up in the hype. Just sleep on it and see if when you come back, you ask yourself, is this really for me? Am I really guided towards this? And you'll get a very clear yes or no when you actually quieten down and really listen and tune in. Yeah, it's a big one, that is. I use cards, and I have set an intention with every deck I own to only connect, yes, with divine love and light. Yeah. I believe that cancels out any ill intentions that might have been placed in them before they got to me. Exactly. Like you almost bless them, right? You put your own energy on them, because it's like saying, what's coming to me? It's like saying, it's as silly as saying, I don't ever want to move and go and live in a property unless it's a complete new build property. Because if I go and live in a property that someone else has been in, I am now going to be subject to all their like energies, memories, traumas, arguments they've had in the home. We don't do that. We move in. You might do a nice clearing. You might do a nice, whatever you want to do to clear the space. I definitely would do that. And that's it. Right. So we've got to take our power back on some of this and not be in fear. Two things: not be in fear of certain modalities, healings, and things that people are using, and at the same time to use our discernment, not to just say yes to everything and not question it, really use our discernment. So it's a bit of a balance, and this is why the more you work on yourself, the more you can get that balance right. And if you've ever had any experiences where you haven't got that, know that that's just part of your spiritual growth. So it's not about berating yourself if you've had terrible experiences with people, because that has served you. Like, how much more do you know about yourself now, right, as a result of that? Yeah. So let's see. Light language is something that troubles me. Because I don't know what is being chanted. Okay. And it was saying, I too have a bit of unease from not knowing what's being said as well. Yeah, that's a great one to bring up. Light language is I'm glad you brought that up, actually. So I'll share with you my experience on light language. So light language is really coded energies that come through, and when it's like real genuine light language, it has the ability to activate, to heal, to clear, to do all sorts of powerful, it's a bit like frequencies in music. If you hear a piece of music, you can really feel a release sometimes, or you can really feel emotionally stirred. So it's a little bit like that with light language. I was when I opened my channel, I was told, and I understand now how that works, that I have my light language. I do channel light language, but not the way that it sounds in others. So others would chant it, and I'll tell you about that in a second. My light codes come through my voice. So for whatever reason, my mission doesn't require me to speak light language. I kind of know why. It's the kind of person that I am, and who I'm maybe more guided to work with. It suits the mission, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll spontaneously start speaking it. I don't know. But the light language comes through, the light codes come through my voice. Now, when I first heard pure light language, as in the words, the kind of chanting, that's almost like a foreign language, right? When I first heard it, I remember seeing somebody a good few years ago. I probably wasn't ready for that anyway, but it felt really uneasy to me. There was something about it that I was like, ooh, no. What I realized later, it was actually this person's energy. It wasn't so much the light language, but because it was coming through her, it was a big giant no for me. My whole body was like, no, 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 no. And I actually used to then turn away from anybody that did light language. I was like, oh no, not for me. How it changed was actually the woman that helped me literally really activate into myself as a channel, as a starseed, my knowing. And I found her in 2021. I wrote about her in my book, Melissa Bates. I found her on YouTube, and when she spoke light language, I I burst out laughing because it felt so amazing. And I remember that very physical feeling in my body, and I heard her, and I just felt like I'd come home. I was like leaning in, I was listening to her on YouTube. I was laughing because it sounded really weird and strange. I didn't know what the hell she was saying. But there was something about her energy and the way, and she's a very high level channel, and she is a beautiful soul. And it resonated with me, right? So yeah, if you're very in the logical and you need to know, yeah, YouTube her. Melissa B Bates, I think. If you can't find her, let me know. But I love her. I've done work with her. I've done some of her programs. We did a podcast together. Yeah, I'll share the podcast link maybe somewhere. I'll dig it out. And she was just she's so powerful in what she does, but again, it's like we resonate with certain people, right? At certain times. So she was like an activator for me. So it's just a little bit about knowing where you are, and just not forcing yourself to do things that you don't want to do. But yeah, if you're very much in the logical and you need to know what's being said, light language is probably going to be a bit of a leap for you. Might be more challenging for you, unless you find someone maybe that you just like. I like to know words, but with her I just didn't care. I was receiving the energies, and they were real. They are real. So that's a really interesting one. But really trust yourselves, like really trust yourself, because spiritual communities and work is no different to real life. We don't just go outside on the street, and just as much as we'd love to connect with people, we don't just trust every single human we ever come into contact with. We have discernment. But yet in the spiritual world, sometimes we're just supposed to just believe, right? But also be open. But yeah, that's a really, really big one. So it's really about choosing your tools and modalities. This is just my perspective. Of course, you can totally disagree with anything I'm saying here. Like, I really want you to know that. But for me, it's more the discernment around, the energies of the person, the group, the room that you're in, right? Whether it's online or in real life. Yeah. Oh, hi Tracy. You have a lovely friend who speaks light language. It's very strange but fascinating. Yeah, it is. And light language is going to come in more and more and more. Yeah, I have another friend who, Sabra. She is incredible. That she, again, with her, it's like soothing to the soul. It's like music. It's like some kind of soul music. The way that certain people, channel. But it's a trust thing, right? Because again, if you don't know who it is, like, what are you saying to me? Like, I don't know about you, but I like to sometimes, if I can't sleep or if I'm just on a certain path, I used to listen to like hypnosis or like affirmations. Like on YouTube, you can get 8-hour ones and just play them. And I typically don't now, because I don't like the phone or devices in my room anymore with the EMF. But let's say if I now and then I needed it, I would not have this trust of just playing something for 8 hours, because I used to have this paranoia about, well, what if in 3 hours in they start to randomly implant some other phrases and some other stuff. Like, that's the level of my trust. Because I'm just throwing that out there. Like, really feel into what you're comfortable with, right? My 4-year-old daughter randomly writes light language sometimes. Yes, I love that. I'm going to be talking a lot more about children. It's part also another aspects of my mission I've been given, and I understand that more and more now. I love that. Yeah, more of our children are going to be doing these things. They're going to be coming in with the light language, with the healing, with the knowledge, with the understandings that we maybe have just about learned or maybe haven't learnt yet. And they're literally coming in at like 4, 5, 6, already knowing. So watch out for our like starseed high consciousness children, of course, because they're here to assist the planet, right? And we need the generation behind us to and they're coming in with all sorts of spiritual gifts already online. So I love that. There's more to talk about on that, definitely. Okay. So let's talk about kind of the control, right? The control in both religion and spirituality, and kind of trying to balance these two, especially for those of you who have had connections with religion. I grew up as a Catholic, so I was all about, I understood about church and teachings and the Bible and all of that, church on Sunday. But there's this, especially as we develop on our path in our vibration, we start to see things differently. So I want to really just share some perspectives on this. And again, it'll be highly triggering if you're someone who is very, very attached to their religion in a way that there is only one way. Just either switch off now or just hold it lightly. You don't have to take anything that I'm saying, but it is a conversation that I think we need to have, because I've seen the control on both sides. I just want to unpick it a little bit, just a little bit, because there's so much to say. Let's see. All right, yeah, you're thinking 3 hours in, they'll insert subliminal messages. Yeah. That's exactly. There's no trust there. Like, I don't know this person, so I don't know unless I click through and check, which I have done one time. I really wanted to listen to something and I just kept checking. Yeah. So Tracy, you're saying you have no idea what it says, but I asked her once and she said it was for all the mummies and their mummies and their mummies. Yes, she knows, right? She knows. I love that you're aware of that, because you can help support her with just being open and just letting her expand with that, right? She doesn't need to be shut down the way that maybe we would have grown up. Yeah, the fact that you're open, and I love that. That makes me so happy, so happy. Okay, so take a breath. There's a lot of information. I'll just let myself take a breath and we'll get into the next part. So I want to talk about religion, God, Christ consciousness, some of that juicy stuff, because there's a lot of arguments online I'm seeing. There's a lot of really people laying into each other on both sides, and that's a very big topic. So let's just see, because I'm part talking and part channeling things through as I go, and I will channel directly at the end of this session once I'm done. So let's see what I want to talk about. So the thing about we want to take out, I'm just going to get a little bit of guidance on this to kind of really share with you at the highest level. So we want to take out, they're kind of showing me in a visual, my guide. So let's say like religion is this piece here and spirituality is this piece here. And in both of these, and we'll say spirituality meaning the kind of new age spiritual teachings. This isn't so much ancient wisdom. This is more the modern spirituality, right? That's being taught. And both of those have very set ideas, right? So let's say I'm going to generalize. I'm not saying everybody in these camps, but I'm going to be very generalized as I say this. So let's say in the spiritual world, a lot of people don't follow religion anymore. Maybe they used to, or they never did. They don't follow religion. So they're very much about the universe, and they talk in terms of the bigger energies, right? Something bigger than us. They don't necessarily always subscribe to God. So in the spiritual communities, you'll have some people that are very connected to the word God, and other people will not use that word. They'll use universe, and it will be nothing to do with kind of God or any sense of God. So there's that. And that goes very much against, let's say, the religious sort of piece. And of course, there are lots of different religions. So I'm going to be very, very generalized as I talk about this, because I'm going to talk about this for a few minutes. But let's say in the religious aspect, let's say Christianity specifically here, but this could be any religion. They will talk about God as being the God, the only God, and also Jesus. It's about certain sets of rules and guidance in those areas. And so in that religious, and I'm not talking about all of you, of course, who are religious, I'm talking about the religious control mechanism at the top. It has very set rules. And I know this from my own experience, right? It says heaven and hell. It says these are the rules. If you break them, you're out, right? You have to repent. You have to, all of this stuff. It's on the basis that you are a sinner, and that you have to repent in order to get into God's grace and follow Jesus and all of that stuff. It will be very against things typically that talk about the universe and divine intelligence or divine anything, right? So it can be very polarizing. And again, there's lots of variations. So don't come at me in the comments if you're watching later. This is, as I said, very generalized. So I'm not going to answer anything that starts to argue that, because it's very generalized as what I'm just saying. But let's say that's what's happening. So what happens in that is almost like, I feel like both sides of that throw out the other part that could really assist. Um, so when I talk about any of this, and you might have seen my posts, I've shared it a lot, and you might be the same, I very much talk about, I use the words personally that are comfortable to me, is God, source, universe, divine source, God source. I use them all interchangeably. I didn't use the word God for the first few years that I was online, because I was still sort of working out how I felt about that, and the way, and I'm only going to share my perspective on this, but the way that I felt about God, and I've always felt this about God. God to me is not a one individual figure in the sky that looks down and judges us. And that is a really, really big part of, I guess, where you stand on these things. Because of course, if you believe that, again, this live stream, may or may not be up your street, but it's this kind of idea that God is this judgmental someone figure to be feared, to be worshipped, to be put on this pedestal, and because you're not worthy. I remember being in the church, and really listening to some of the words that people were just monotonously speaking without any awareness and concentration. And it was like, I think it was something like, Lord, I am not worthy. Yeah, Lord, I am not worthy to receive you. Only say the word and I shall be healed. And I remember the day that clicked in, and I was like, what? And I'd said it like on repeat, because growing up, that's how I was, taught. I went to church and this is what we did. And it was like, Lord, I am not worthy. I'm not worthy. That to me made no sense. And that was sort of my starting point of really starting to explore and unpicking all the religious programming that I had had. I went to Catholic school, secondary school, Catholic. My college was Catholic. Yeah, all my education up until before university was in a Catholic setting. So I was well versed on this, but I never believed it to be true. And where I'm coming from on that is when I was very, very young. This is why, it's a tough one, because I know everyone has their own beliefs, but I'm going to talk about my own soul knowing on this, and whether it resonates with you or not, that's for you. But when I was very young, like 5 or 6, it's in my book actually, I write about this scene. I had a knowing that I was lying in my bed, and I could feel myself tapping into the soul, and that my soul is like infinite. I didn't have the word, but all I had was forever. And I said to myself, I sort of drifted out, almost like had a bit of an out of body experience with my eyes closed. And I drifted out, and I could see myself kind of going through time and beyond space, this planet, and I could feel myself as this soul who's been here forever and ever and ever. And I said it over and over in my head. It started to get very big and a bit scary, and I had to kind of come back in. But I really had this real knowing. And the interesting thing about that, I really was very young, 5 or 6, was that I never got taught that. I was surrounded, my mum and dad was very Catholic, right? Both of them, both sides. My dad was Irish, my mum side is from Goa. So it was Catholic. That's what we were taught. Everything around me was taught that. So nobody taught that. It was something I knew, which is why I trust it, which is why, even though I learned other things, I came back to this, because this was something I was born knowing with. And this is for you, it might be for you in certain areas. There are things that you came in to this world knowing. You didn't learn it from your carers, your parents, your schools, your friends. You just knew things, or you just felt certain things. Right. So it sounds like your experience with the church. Yeah. Suddenly you became aware of the teachings and questioned it all. Okay. Exactly. And a lot of us do. It's like, whoa, it's like we suddenly look at it with a different lens. So I really had this knowing. This is why I call it a soul knowing. It isn't a belief, because beliefs can be changed. A soul knowing is something that you would die on that hill. You just know. Someone put, you know, going to say, I'll be really dramatic. Someone put a gun to my head. That's what wanted to come out there. I couldn't say otherwise. I'd have to say, I know this to be true. I know this is real. So I never learned that. So that's where that comes from. So I was very connected into that. And so I started to bring in the word God again, because I started to later on started to make that connection again. And the way that I relate to God is it's why I use the word interchangeably. God is God's source. It's the source of everything. And so the idea of there having to be rules around that, it's like what it is, it's like a very controlling relationship, which we're very used to on the earth plane. So no wonder a bunch of humans say, if you don't do this, God will not love you. If you do not follow this, God, you're out of God's kingdom, right? If you do not follow Jesus, you're kind of screwed, right? And brings me back to the initial comment on my post recently when I just mentioned about channeling, that everybody has the ability to connect and channel. It's actually a natural ability that's been stifled. I got told that it was demonic. And, again, this whole thing was like, being told I need to repent. And I sat with that and I was like, I wonder what I would repent for. Should I repent for my existence? Should I repent for, like, original sin is what some religions teach, that you're literally born with a sin from day one. And I'll speak more about the Catholic religion because that's the one I knew, where it says that if you're a baby and that baby dies before being christened, baptized, that baby will end up in purgatory because they are not christened, baptized. And it's like, what? So unlucky baby, very unlucky baby. So these are the kinds of teachings that I've really I'm speaking out about again and again, fully respectful of, if that's your belief and that's where you are and you want to stay there, then stay there. But I am really talking to people who are starting to question this, or they already know this and they just need to hear the confirmation, because sometimes there's so much majority out there that will pound you. When you go against the majority, you can sometimes start to second guess yourself. So the reason I'm saying this is so that you hear it. Maybe you just need someone to say it outside of you. So I believe in Jesus. I believe in a God. I do not follow the rules and the exact nature of what is written in the Bible, because to me, that is a man-made piece of writing, right? And it's been distorted and distorted and distorted. There have been very good intentions in parts of the Bible, but it's been distorted and distorted like every single other thing on our planet. There is no different. And I've channeled on that to confirm, because I want to be told when I'm not accurate about something. I'm very open to that. My guides know that. They will tell me something, like if I've got it wrong, or if I'm like, have I got that completely wrong? Have I read that totally off? I want to know. So the control is coming very heavily from religion, and I can't talk about this without separating the idea around what happens when we die. And it's going to be a very, very relevant topic going forwards for obvious reasons. A lot of people exiting the planet, right? Oh, hey, Dawn. Oh, yeah, we covered a lot, but the replay's here. There's a lot we covered. Yeah, so definitely watch the replay. Yeah, there's a lot of things coming up. So we're going to have a lot more conversations. And I definitely am going to talk about that with my guides, especially the angelic realm, around our beliefs that come from religion, around what happens when we die. Because there is so much fear around this. There is so much religious and other programming that has kept people so stuck in this fear and not able to start to move forward on their spiritual growth whilst they're in the physical. So these are going to be really relevant conversations to have, because we are taught very black and white. When you start to look at it, you start to see how human that is. It's very human. It's not, there are more energies beyond this planet, right, that we can tap into, higher level, beautiful beings. And the more you hear from them, the more you can start to really notice the limitations of a lot of the human perspectives. And this is why I really want to commit to channeling more. I haven't really been doing that other than in my private groups. My intention is to start off the back of this. I'm going to really start to show up more and channel more, so that you can, if you want to tune in to receive, because I get to channel them every day. And I feel like if I don't share it enough with the world, it's almost like I feel like I'm just keeping it for me. That's not the point. I want to share it so you can hear and feel the resonance, and we can have the most beautiful conversations with, Arcturian and angelics, um, and yeah, the angelic realm, particularly when they talk about our existence and what happens when we leave the physical form, and we can really start to have conversations on that. So there's a lot of control that happens. And the thing I wanted to talk about as well is the Christ consciousness, and this is where there's probably a lot of talking to do around that, more to understand that it's just very, I see it as very clever, because there's manipulation happening in it. There's so much control. And so when people realize, oh yeah, religions are just controlling us, they throw the whole lot out. And even that's clever. So they kind of get you with, we're going to hold you in control under the religious umbrella, or we'll control you through fake spirituality, or we'll control all of you who don't want to follow religion, because then you throw it all out and you disconnect from God and everything of the light. So it's very clever when they kind of get us in all these camps. But what's happening now is there's more of us, which I love and I'm here for. There's more of us that are suddenly emerging. We are getting louder in a quiet way, some of us, but we're getting louder. We're getting more visible. We are standing tall now in our spiritual abilities, in our knowledge, in our wisdom, in our connection, and we're starting to bring in Christ consciousness, more and more of it into the planet. And what I really want to, I guess, directly share with you right now, just as again, this is a starting point, can't cover everything in this one session, is that Christ consciousness, the word Christ consciousness, has got nothing to do with religion. And this is where, when I first heard that term, I don't know when it was, probably a few years ago, before I was ready, I had the mistaken belief that that's to do with like religious Christ, right? You can still believe in the religious Christ versions of what you're being told. That's absolutely fine. It doesn't contradict it. But what I'm talking about is the Christ energy, the Christ light, which is the highest frequency. It's the consciousness that many people have walked on this planet. So the figure of Jesus, right, who existed, and he has had many names, and he's referred to in different ways in different communities, of course. He held Christ consciousness. Any light worker that walked the path on the earth plane, who was ahead of the masses and shared messages of love and higher consciousness and higher perspectives, that, by the way, our galactic family have in abundance. That's why they're here to assist us as well. Many of the figures that have walked on the earth plane held Christ consciousness, but it's been very cleverly, it's almost like I'm seeing it almost like it's been snatched and taken and wrapped in religion, so that it keeps religious people under control and alienates those who don't. But I want to bring that into you now to say, because I talk about it and I'm going to be talking about it more. Christ consciousness is just a beautiful high frequency. So everything that I channel, what I do, I am very I said devoted to making sure that when I open my channel and close my channel, I have practices so that I make sure that when I channel through, imagine my channel is open, anything can come in. It's like leaving your doors open, but not if you set boundaries and intentions. So I channel through only energies that hold Christ light and are of Christ consciousness. And that is the number one thing, if you're ever connecting into anything, is to state that and to have that intention, because that means it is the highest frequency and you will really feel it. You'll really, really feel it. So I just want to make that clear, and I'm going to talk about that a lot, but it's very different to religious programming and structures. And it's going to be something that if you've heard it here now, even for the first time, no doubt you'll probably hear more and more of it. You'll start to see it in a lot more places. So that's a really important one for us to know. And just on that note, I've got a couple of other things I want to talk about, but just on that note, my high level channel International Training Academy is the place that I'm opening next week. It's on the 11th of November. So doors close next Friday on the 10th. And this is the place where I'm going to be teaching a beautiful group of people. So you can check that out if you're interested. But I'm going to be teaching them about channeling, the how-tos. We're going to activate the channel, lots of things around that. But a big piece of this is going to be around the Christ consciousness energy, making sure that we're not opening up to anything and everyone, because there are a lot of people who are walking around who do connect to things that are, again, clever and deceptive, because they pepper in some accuracies and then they lead people astray. So we've got to be really discerning. So that's going to be a big piece of what we do inside my academy. So just a side note on that, if you're interested, the website is below. Just click on ways to work with me and you'll see it on the offerings page. If for some reason you can't find it, message me, but it's right there on the page. Yeah, because it's a really big important piece. And I found that when I work in that way, I've had very limited like spiritual attacks kind of thing, right? So I still get sort of the odd interesting experience, but it's a lot less than it would be if I just had everything open and I didn't know who I was you know, channeling and connecting to. We've got to really know that it's not difficult, it's just to understand that. So that's a really big one. So yeah, so I see God is just everything, everywhere. God is in everything. God is in every atom, every cell of your being. You are an extension of God. And of course that is extremely unwanted in certain spiritual, more religious probably, communities, because it's seen as blasphemous and it's seen as just like a big no-no, right? But that has been so many years of programming. So again, more of us are going to come out and start to state this. We are walking aspects of the same source. We are all connected. We are literally all connected from the same source of light. Everything on this planet and outside of this planet is all connected. So the idea that we're not is crazy. It's like a separation, and it's just keeping the people, the humans, under a massive amount of control, because they're looking up to this one savior, right? And we see this a lot. Sometimes we're still doing it with certain figures here. So and so is going to save us. So it's like, we're here to do it for ourselves, and we're here to connect with each other. And the more of us that are doing it, the more of us that are holding light, we are extensions of the same source. And what I'm kind of laughing as I say that, because as I'm saying this, I'm aware that some people hearing that will absolutely hate and despise me for saying it. Some people will just love that I'm saying it, and some people will be in the middle. But if I was saying this like in the future, this will be basic knowledge that 3-year-olds will know, right? We're just on an earlier part of the timeline, but there is a timeline for this planet where what I'm saying here about us being extensions of God running through our DNA, we're all extensions of it, is going to be such basic knowledge. It would never raise a single eyebrow. But yet in the climate that we're in right now, that in some communities is, they'd still want to burn you at the stake, right? For saying that, which leads me very nicely, unplanned, onto the next thing I wanted to talk about. That's kind of worked out well. Onto, attacks from people who don't like your beliefs, and persecution and expression and past lives. So I shall take just a breath, and we'll get into that last part, and then probably that'll be enough for today. So thank you for joining me and staying with me so far. But and then I'll wrap it up, because there's, this could be like a day event, right? So so let's see where we want to start with this. All right. Okay, so for this one, I want you to really feel what I'm saying, because this is going to apply directly to you if you're hearing it. You have had many past lives. This is not your first life. And even if your mind, your logical mind, is maybe still battling with some of that, but a lot of you are very open to that already. You've had many past lives. So again, if you're here and you're still with me and you're listening, and you're on the replay or live, you've had many past lives. So you will have had some experiences of having spoken out against the masses, and it would have cost you. So I know personally that I've definitely had a few past lives, which are also parallel lives, but that's another subject. We'll call it past lives to make sense, but really they're parallel lives. But I've had other life experiences where I have spoken out, and I have channeled, and I have gone against the masses. I've gone against the control the religion, the state, whatever. And it's most likely cost our lives in the end, but that's okay because that was just part of the mission, that was part of the experience. We all have to exit at some point. So a lot of us, you, me, we chose to come into this incarnation now very conveniently during this massive time of humanity's transition. So there are a lot of us here, you included. You might already know this, you might be new to this might activate you right now. A lot of you have come in to reignite your spiritual abilities, your very specific ways of bringing in wisdom and information and energies into this planet. And so you are someone who's had already past experiences. So what is happening right now is there's a whole load of us. It's like I see it as little lights scattered all around the planet, around the planet, and some of them are turned up fairly bright. They're already on, and some of them are nearly, and some of them are not, and some of them are to be activated. And so this is imagining like there's like all around the world, there's many, many, many of us. So this is you, and I'm directly talking to you now. If you're on this conversation, you've come in with that. So there will most likely be some part of you right now that still has not, and I want to say the expression of coming out, you have not come out yet of your spiritual closet. And it was definitely a path I had to do over the sort of 8 years I've been online, of coming out of the spiritual closet. And I did it bit by bit because it was so freaking scary for me to do it, because what did it do? It triggered all my fears, all my unconscious stuff going on from previous lifetimes. And oh my God, it's not safe to be who I am and to speak and to share my wisdom and things that I just know. So a lot of us, what is happening now, I really want you to trust the process that you're on. You're walking that path to be activated, or you're going through it right now. You're hearing things like this. You'll hear another message after this one somewhere. You'll reach for a book or something that will, be the right piece at the right time. But a lot of us are having our lights switched on. That's what an activation is. You might have heard the word activation being thrown around. We're switching our lights on. And what that means is we're starting to know ourselves as being multi-dimensional beings, meaning we're not just this human in this physical body that lives one life, dies, and that's the end, or lives one life, dies, and either goes to heaven and hell according to, that's pretty weighty, right? One lifetime and then your whole eternity. It's very unfair. That's not how it is, right? So you're here for that. And so this is just to shine a light on this. A lot of us are going through this. Our throat chakras are getting cleared. You might be feeling yourself wanting to speak up a bit more. You might be, wanting to shift maybe the topics you've been talking about in your own life, family, social circle, podcast, online stuff, business, whatever it is that you're doing, just with people that you hang out with maybe. But a lot of this is happening. So I want you to know that this is big energy. This is really, really big energy. And so you are being encouraged to trust that and allow yourself to move down that path and start to open these doors for yourself. And this is what this live stream is helping you to do, to help you connect into this part of your nature. Everything I'm saying, you already know on a soul level. Like I'm not, we can call it teachings, but it's very loosely, it's a loose word because I don't consider myself being able to show you or teach you anything that your soul doesn't already know, right? Of course, we're all learning, but your conscious mind is a whole different aspect. So there are a lot of people that are around who will not like your beliefs. And let's just shine a light on that so we know this is obvious. Let's bring it up to the surface. I got away with it for quite a long time. For 8 years I've been online. I've not had very many like unkind things said to me. I've had a pretty positive experience, but do you know why? It's because I was playing it so safe. I was playing it so carefully over the years, and I really was aware of that. And it was only when in 2020 something happened where I was just activated, and I was like so outspoken about world events, and it was all done with love, but I was compelled to just speak up and share when a lot of people who I thought would have done the same went very quiet. And I was, some of you felt like that. You were really vocal, and it's okay if you weren't, because we were all doing different things. But since then, I've really, really stepped up into my message, and since then I entered into being a channel very consciously. I've started to become more visible and speak out. But of course, it goes with the territory that not everybody will like you for that. And we've got to get, being on the spiritual path in current times will mean that we've got to get really good and really strong with not being liked by everyone. And that was a really hard one for me, because I've always cared what people think. And I have what I now realize is a very open sacral center, by virtue of being a projector in human design, for those of you who know human design. So what it means is I am very aware when I am in a room with someone, or even online, it could even be over a message. I'm very aware if somebody does not like me, or if they have an issue with me. I can feel it. It is like it hits me in the face. It is a very real thing. So I'm super sensitive and aware of when something I've said hasn't been taken correctly that I intended, or I've upset someone and it was not my intention. It never is. And I know that. So it's been a real journey for me. And I wanted to share that with you, because some of you will be on the same one. But the more that we get connected into ourselves, into our missions, into our hearts, the more we're going to be able to withstand that. And then the more we're going to be able to anchor in our light, our energy, our wisdom, whatever gifts that you've come in with, because you've definitely had, you've got gifts that you've come in with, gifts, whatever you want to call them, talents, abilities, skills. Let me just talk on that very quickly. I saw a post one time that somebody, no, I've seen several posts on this where people have said they don't like the term spiritual gifts, because it implies that gift, you've been gifted, aren't you lucky, you can channel, aren't you lucky, you've got a gift of, I don't know, energy healing, right? And then it kind of implies that other people don't. But the way I see a spiritual gift is that you've had many lifetimes, so you've got a very, very developed skill of certain things, right, that you've done. This is not your first, movie. You've had many. You've had many lifetimes, so you've developed skills, right? So I'm going to use myself as an example. I already know this because I have recollections, and it's been confirmed for me that I've definitely channeled in other lifetimes, which is why when I was activated, like, it was like, I didn't have to learn it. It just was like, oh my goodness, didn't expect that. It's like instant, because I've been doing it in many other lifetimes. So it's been developed, fine-tuned, practiced. So for this mission in this lifetime, it's like I'm on and I can just move with it. So the way I see the gift is that I've come in with this highly developed ability because I put the work in and experience in previous lifetimes, right? And my gift is the gift that I'm going to share with the world. That's my gift that I brought in for the world. Here you go, world, take it, whoever wants it. So just a little reframe on that. So you also have your own spiritual gifts. So I want you to really breathe that in and give yourself permission to know that you do. Because I know that some people have that little issue with, well, who am I to have a gift and that person over there hasn't? It's not that kind of thing. You came in and you brought your gift in so that you can share it with others. And it's selfish if we don't, right? It's selfish if we don't. And I had a word with myself this week about, you want to channel, you really want to be channeling more and sharing that. So that's my commitment. I want to share with you that I'm going to be here channeling, probably not as long as this, but even little messages, right? Just sharing my gift. So that's what's happening. A lot of you are going to be activated into yours more and more. This is going to be happening constantly through this lifetime. Definitely for you now, or if not very soon, or you're in the process, if you're watching this right now, it might even be that you find yourself to this replay 5 years from now. Like, my stuff just sits there. Sometimes people, it's really amazing and magical when someone hits a like or a comment on a video I did like a few years ago. It reminds me of the magic that we receive the information whenever we need to receive it, right? So that's what's happening. So, it's just being prepared for this, like really stepping into yourself as a spiritual being. We're all spiritual. The idea that some of us are and some of us aren't is insane, but it's whether we're connected into it. So that's what I'm really here for. I'm here to really help, I guess, a few things in this life, but right now it's I'm here to channel through information and energies. I'm here to help you with your direct, or any of you that want to direct healings, clearings, the inner work, the clearing out of the stuff that gets in your way to be able to connect. And then the activations, right? It's helping people tap into who they really are, which is my favorite thing of all things. Because once you know that, there's no stopping you. You will move forward with such courage and conviction and full soul knowing of who you are. And you really aren't making it up. You really are here to walk the path of whatever it is. And there's so many ways that you can be here on your mission. You do not have to do live streams like this that I'm doing and be some kind of spiritual teacher or healer or any of that. You can be doing it in so many ways. You could, I've said this before, you could be a hairdresser, styling hair. You could be a stylist, someone styling people's outfits and how they present themselves. You could still be that and be like a incredible person on their mission. You can be in construction. You can be working with animals. You can be building families, your own families. You can be building schools, getting involved in so many different industries. And this is why I also want you to know that, you know, this spirituality in current times is so far reaching, because there's literally not a single industry on the planet where we don't need good, conscious, heart, soul-centered people involved in. So there is so much space for you to step into your mission. There are so many different ways to do it. So I want to encourage you that, yeah, if you feel right now you're not sure your purpose or where you are or what's happening, just stay on course with it. And, you know, you might be guided to certain things that will help you, or you'll just find that like something that will just, you know, switch the light on for you and you'll get clarity. But to really trust and know that you have a place here during this transition, because that's why you're aware in the way that you are. So there's so much to know. And yeah, this is just the first part of like more conversations we're going to have on this. All right, so that's all I wanted to share. And I guess I just want to, yeah, I'm going to channel through something just to seal up the session so that you can receive something from my beautiful team. And just before I do that, I will channel directly so you receive them. Just before we do that, I'll just let you know what do I want to share with you. I've got so many different ways of working, which I'm very proud of. It's taken quite a while to craft them and really like map them out in the way that I have. So I have different ways that I can assist you. So I've got quite a few different ways. Single sessions, they're very specific purposes. I have a monthly membership club that you can join, which is a great place because I'm in there every week. We have a really lovely community in there. I've got bigger packages if there's more expansive, deeper work you want to do. There's so many different ways. So if you're interested, I'm just going to direct you to the website. It's the easiest thing. So just head to theawakerevolution.com. It's at the bottom of the screen here. And you just know you can check that out anytime. There are no time limits on my offers. My offers are there. I don't work with scarcity and forcing tactics. So everything's there. Ask me if you're not sure, if you want a little bit of guidance as to maybe what would be more relevant to you, if you want some assistance on that. The only thing with a time limit factor is the high level channel training academy. So if you want to get into all the multidimensional things around channeling and connection, yeah, check that out ASAP, because the doors to that close next Friday, because we're going to start on Saturday and I'm going to really have to close the doors so we can keep a real clean group, and we're going to start. It's going to be a really amazing magical 8 months. So that's the only thing with the time factor. But everything you can always check out. I am always here. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm here for whenever you're ready, whether that's a single session or something kind of more expansive. Yeah, and all different price points and things. And you can always message me. I said this in a recent post. I'm not going to pounce on you. I got very nervous sometimes over the years to even inquire with people because they're so good at like pitching you, but I'm not going to do that. You're absolutely safe to message me and just share a bit about what's going on. And if you want to ask me for options, I can recommend whatever I think would be most suited for you. That's going to help you. All right. So that's all I wanted to share. Okay. So let's just wrap this up then with a beautiful message from my team. I'm going to take a breath and then I'll just channel through something for you now. Let's see. Okay. I never know what they're going to say. So Okay, so the word right now is coming through expansion. Okay, so there is a great deal of expansion here for you, dear ones, if you wish to allow yourselves to drop into it. Many of you have been trying to figure things out from your logical minds, and we know that this is so familiar to many of you, but we want to encourage you to, if you can, to release the need to figure things out, to release the need to try and have a concrete, clear strategy or plan at the moment. There are so many energies moving around you and through you. And so if you let go, they're just showing me like let go of the, like if you're holding reins, right, just let go and allow things to come to you. We suggest that if you're trying to figure out your next steps or your next moves, to allow it to unfold, and to, more than anything, to trust that you already have all of the answers inside of you. It is absolutely wonderful sometimes for you to seek assistance and guidance when you feel that you need it, yes, but this does not take away ever from your own abilities to be able to tap into what is already there. And when you start to listen, often when you ask yourself expansive questions, you will start to receive the answers. We also want to remind you, as we have done many times, that we are all around you. So this is the high angelic realm, the angelic realm specifically here. And they want to say that we're all around you. And we have been frequently sharing this message through this Earth year to encourage you more and more to start to communicate and to ask your angels for assistance. Ask us for support. Ask us for clarity. You can ask us for strength. You can ask us for signs and guidance. You can ask us to help you with a certain energy that you wish to feel. And so we offer this to you as a reminder, as we are so happy to share it with you, because so many of you are still walking around with an energy of going it alone. You have become so accustomed from your time here. And sometimes many of you forget that it does not have to be so hard, and that you can co-create, and you each have angels around you. This is not just for the chosen few. You are assigned beautiful angels from the time that you enter this planet. And so to utilize this, we are here all around you. We are never not here. And so we encourage you, as you move through your expansion, to call upon us. You can do this simply out loud or in your mind. Just ask your angelic teams to accompany you, to surround you, to lift the vibration around you in your homes, wherever you are, in your cars, walking down the street. You can simply ask for this presence, and you will start to feel the difference. And so we leave you with this encouragement. We look forward to sharing many more messages with you, and also to answer some of your questions. Yes, we would be delighted. This is both my teams now. So it's the High Actuarian Council and the High Angelic Realm, and often I receive them together. So they're both sharing that, and they're just stating that they would love to, yes, answer any of your questions. So if any of you have specific questions around any topic that we spoke of today, or indeed any topic, they're saying nothing is off limits, you can comment here. Yeah, so please do comment here if there's anything you're thinking, oh, I'd love to know about a certain topic. Just comment here, and yeah, I'm going to be doing more channeling. So I love questions because it's easy for me just to respond to a question. So that is it, lovely souls. I think that's enough. 1 hour 23. Yes, that is a nice juicy amount of conversation, I think. So yeah, there's obviously more to say. I always feel like we only just skimmed the surface here, but there were just quite a few points, I guess, to cover. There's always more. So thank you so much for joining live. I have appreciated every single one of you. I love having you here. I love the interaction, the energies. I get very pink when I channel and talk. Yeah, I feel really good connecting, and it's been too long, so I'm going to be here more regularly. Yeah, so thank you. And any questions, and yeah, if there's any topics, one topic that comes to me is around when we leave this world, like after we leave the physical. Like I always love learning about that. That's an interesting topic to me. So any interesting topics to you, let me know, because there is no topic off limit around this area, right? Anything about your own existence. Let's get really into expansive energies. We're gonna, yeah, what's coming through is like wider perspectives and higher perspectives. Because the more you the more we immerse ourselves in them, the more we grow. Because I can tell you, I've grown and learned so much in the last 2 years. I have through my life, but I think the last 2 years for me has been so potent, learning from my mentors, who are the best mentors on the planet. Um, so yeah, Pinky, we love you. Yeah, that's what my name is, Pinky now. Yeah. My question is the physical pain. Why is there so much pain as we grow? Yeah, I'll come back to, yeah, I won't do it now, but yeah, that's a good question. That is a good question. Um, what are some good expansive questions? Oh, anything that you want to know. Anything that you want to know. And on that, what I love that phrase, what is personal is universal. So any questions that, even if you're just thinking from your own perspective, like, how do I get unstuck, or how should I navigate, da, 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 when I answer them, they're so universal because humans relate to other humans. So that's why no question is ever irrelevant. So always feel free to, yeah, just feel free, if you want to come back, even just drop some questions here, because I'll come back and look at the comments section after. All right, so that is it. Thank you for joining me. That's a good 1 hour and a half. So that's a good time for a masterclass slash session. I hope you got a bit more clarity. I never know what I've actually said when I come to the end of the live stream, because it's all gone through me and I don't know what I've said. So sometimes I listen to them back because I don't even know what we covered. But I hope that it was a clarity session. I hope that some of the stuff has been opened up, a light shone on them, given you a little bit more confidence, some clarity on your own path, that you're not imagining some of these things, and that there is so much confusion out there. So if you feel confused at times, you know why. And just start to question everything. Just start to step back and really start to ponder everything that you see. And then you'll start to develop that discernment muscle that gets a lot stronger. And sooner or later, you'll just be able to hear somebody very quickly and just know it's not that you're knocking them as a person, but you just know that, oh, they're not connected to the highest perspective there. Anything that sounds very black and white, right, wrong, it's more like human linear stuff, right? Which is fine for a certain level, but you'll just start to get more discernment. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you found it brilliant. I'm very happy. Yes. So anyway, that is it. So I'm going to go Friday night here. It's 8:30 on a Friday evening here in the UK. So I wish you a good rest of your evening, rest of your day, wherever you are when you're watching this. And I will definitely be here again soon, because I have got a lot of things I'm going to share. All right, so that is it. Mwah, lots of love. Take good care of yourself, and we will definitely speak soon.